Vortex has started updating their pistol optics with their first full-size dot in quite a while, being the Defender ST, a Delta Point Pro footprint-sized optic with a robust shroud, but is it brilliant or disappointing? Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David, and this is the Vortex Defender ST. Now, the Vortex Defender ST is actually pretty cool because it is on a Delta Point Pro footprint. The window size is what I consider full size. It's not quite as big as the Delta Point Pro glass, but it is really close. It's about the same height, it's just not quite as wide. But the thing that is really cool about the Defender ST is, unlike the Delta Point Pro, which actually has a pretty fragile hood, like it's good enough, but if you drop it the wrong way onto concrete, it will break. Ask me how I know. The Defender ST has a thick aluminum 7075 in this kind of like plastic thing that's supposed to absorb damage or whatever, but it is a more robust shroud and it absolutely protects the front of the glass. So what it ends up being is sort of like a duty rated reflex style sight, and it's selling for about 330 bucks. So we'll take a closer look at this Vortex Defender ST, but first I need to say hello to the dads in the crowd. You guys have the most important job in the world, so let me honor you with this crisp high five. And this: why did the lobster blush? Because it saw the ocean's bottom. I may have done that one like a year or two ago. Sound off in the comments if I already did, I can't remember. But I mean, that's a pretty dad move to repeat the same joke over and over again. So there's that. All right, so back to the sight. So if you follow the channel, you can remember that I reviewed the initial Vortex Defender that they launched, I don't know, about I guess it was 2 spring breaks ago. I remember buying it on spring break and ultimately trying it out. My video didn't drop when it first launched because I had issues with the sight. My issue with the sight was that when I mounted it on a gun and got it zeroed, the dot was right above kind of an invisible line on the screen where the dot would basically cut out. And I think there was an issue with like the geometry of the housing relative to the emitter, to where the housing was blocking the emitter projecting on the bottom part of the window. And I know that it was not a one-off thing because ultimately later that year at USPSA Nationals, from the prize table, I got another Vortex Defender and I was able to verify that that one did it too. Now the first one I ended up sending back to Vortex customer support. They put it through its paces and said, no, this is just the way the sight is. So that was a bit of a disappointment to me. But what I'm happy to report is the Defender ST doesn't share that issue. In fact, the sight is actually pretty good. One thing that I really appreciate about the sight is the fact that it is on a Delta Point Pro footprint, because there are guns out there that have narrow slides and require a Delta Point Pro footprint, like 2011s, for instance. You'll either see a Delta Point Pro cut or an RMS cut on the slides. So it's a full-size optic that is, you know, a bit more robust than some of the other optics out there with a smaller sort of deck height. Before diving in any further, I do want to give a shout out to Optics Planet, who provided the sight for me for video purposes. Full disclosure there, so now you know. So jumping in a bit deeper on the Defender ST, as mentioned, the hood design is an aluminum 7075, which is kind of the stuff that the premium sights are made out of. So that is the strong aluminum. That is what you want for a weapon mounted sight. The brightness is adjusted via the down button on the right side of the sight and the up button on the left side of the sight. And it has 2 night vision settings. Now, I used to not care about that and make fun of people who use night vision because they're worthy of being made fun of. I'm just kidding. I mean, you guys are cool too, sort of. It has night vision available settings, which is actually a feature I realize I appreciate, because I have some sights that don't have night vision settings and they don't get dim enough to shoot with precision in like a dark indoor range or on an overcast day at an outdoor range. So having that range of adjustability for the night vision setting means that the dot is going to get dim enough. Now, usually you have to worry then, does it get bright enough for a nice blue sky day? And I'm happy to report in kind of the early spring here in Texas, when I had this sight out, it absolutely was no problem to be picked up on a bright day. It's not the high Texas summer, which is even brighter, but it looks like it's still got enough left in the tank to handle a full summer day. I do want to talk about the turrets that adjust the sight. Now, one of the things that you want on a red dot sight is really good turrets that take a tool that's larger than just a jeweler tip screwdriver. So you can use like the tip of a pocket knife, maybe the rim of a brass casing. And the Defender ST has an amazing set of turrets that provide very tactile feedback when you're dialing in clicks with 1 MOA adjustments. and the sight is very easy to get zeroed as a result. And it's got loads and loads of hashes, so you can see what you're doing if for some reason through your potato fingers you can't feel it. The battery door is on top of the sight, and it actually comes with a tool to get the battery door off, although you can improvise one if you need to. It's kind of like the SRO, and it takes the CR2032 battery, which is, in my opinion, the best battery you can get for these style of sights. Currently, they're available. They have the most capacity, and you can buy the good name brand ones like Duracell. Duracell is the recommendation, and you can buy like 20 packs of them for, you know, almost no money, like 10 bucks or something. Oh, by the way, I was playing Minecraft the other day. I found out there's a planet on which optics grow, and they have a cryptic language to help you decode that. I found out the letters HUMB mean 7%. So there you go. There's some help for my gamer friends out there. Now, previously the Vortex sights, now I have a Vortex Venom that I have a hate-hate relationship with. I'm pretty sure the sight hates me because it never seems to work when I bring it to the range, and I hate it as well. The Vortex Venom that I just mounted on this Shadow doesn't adjust elevation. To include the Shadow 2 in this comparison, the dot died. This Vortex Venom dot died. Seriously, I've had a couple videos where I bring that sight to the range, and for one reason or another, the sight just wouldn't work. One time the turrets wouldn't adjust to get the elevation in. Another time the battery, which it had just been sitting off in the safe for like a 6-month period, was dead when we got there. And because it took a 1632 battery, I didn't have any spares. That's on me, but at the same time, dude, what the heck? The Defender ST is a much more robust sight than the Vortex Venom, I'm happy to report. And as a result, I think Vortex learned their lessons. Like, you had to buy the right screws and the shim plates required for a lot of the mounting solutions with the Venom. This actually comes with so much stuff in the box, you could probably mount it to just about anything. It comes with a pick rail mount as well as a Glock MOS plate, and then pairs of screws for most thread pitches that you would commonly encounter on pretty much any pistol. So Vortex really did a great job providing kind of a premium end user experience where you have in the box pretty much everything you would need to get the pistol mounted. What I do want to talk about this sight is the fact that it has an aspherical lens, which is a premium feature for a pistol sight. And that means that, you know, the $200 sights or whatever, you're not getting a spherical lens at that price point yet. It just hasn't happened. There are two types of windows. There's a spherical, and then there's Mangan. Mangan is like the SRO, where it kind of has that slight fisheye effect as you kind of move the dot around and look at something. The spherical sights don't do that. Some of them not at all, some of them not as much. Now, there is a very, very slight amount of distortion when I kind of swirl this sight around, but not enough to where you'd even notice it without looking for it. The clarity on the glass is excellent, and the reticle, even to my astigmatic eyes when I'm not wearing my correction, basically looks pretty good. It's not too starbursty. It you know, is good looking as far as the reticle on the window is concerned. And that brings us kind of to the downside of the sights, and you can see that the deck height is actually pretty high. I would still consider it a medium deck height. It's not as thick as the old Delta Point Pro, but it is like putting the window of the glass like one sausagey finger width above the slide. You can see this Grand Power Q100 doesn't really sink the optic down that low. And that's going to be an issue for, you know, mini striker guns because the optics generally ride a bit higher. Can you imagine how tall the co-witness sights would need to be if I cared about co-witnessing sights on this pistol? They would be absolutely massive. So that's probably the biggest downside. The other downside to this is price. Now, because this is an spherical lens open reflex sight, it's trading for 330 bucks right now on Optics Planet. And, you know, these days, if you don't care about the spherical lens, you can get an open reflex sight from a bunch of the Chinese budget optic manufacturers that have very robust hoods for like 200 bucks. And while Vortex has a premium US-based warranty service group, so like honestly, their warranty team is awesome, I don't expect the sight to have any issues, but you can, you know, rest comfortably knowing that if you do have a problem with your investment, they will absolutely take care of you. But at that 330 price point, you're only like 10 bucks away from like the Hollow Sun EPS, and the EPS is an enclosed emitter sight with a spherical glass as well. So, I mean, it's a tough neighborhood to be in from a price perspective. While it is a premium weapon sight that inspires a lot of confidence, I have no doubt this thing will hold up to lots and lots of use. I don't have that many rounds, so it's somewhere north probably of 500 rounds, but not a lot more than that. And generally, if an optic is going to fail, it's going to fail within the first 500 shots, or it's going to make it, you know, tens of thousands of rounds. Usually the optic is put together pretty well. So the Vortex Defender ST, especially in the Delta Point Pro footprint, I think that this might be one of the better offerings on that Delta Point Pro footprint if you want an open reflex sight. In fact, it might be my favorite one over even the original Delta Point Pro. I mean, the window size is roughly the same with a more robust hood, and you know, it's the thickness is just not quite as thick as the Delta Point Pro. So there's a lot going for the Defender ST, and I encourage Vortex to keep pushing and doing more cool stuff with their pistol optic segment. So now they've got the Defender and the Defender ST. I can't wait to see what a big window option would look like based around kind of the technology they've put in with the Defender ST.